And we are live. And how does that make you feel,
That feels good.
Karen? Yeah, if you feel appreciated, right?
I do.
Welcome, welcome, welcome to the first Don't Call Me Karen podcast, hosted by Kelley and Brandon, aka DJ Silk. And Kelley doesn't have an AKA because she didn't give me one yet. We haven't figured that out yet.
You got to help me figure that out.
Right. So very, very happy to be here. We are living luxuriously on Kelley's patio outside. You can hear nature in the background.
Beautiful day
Somebody cutting their grass.
in suburbia.
In suburbia, we're living the dream. Well, you're living the dream. I'm just partaking in it for right now. So it's nice. How are you?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
I'm good. We didn't do too much planning for this for this first podcast, even though we're both planners. So this should be a lot of fun, right?
Well, you're a pro, so this is my first time hosting a podcast.
Right.
I've been a guest, never a host, but
How does it feel?
I know that you are a pro. It feels good.
Okay.
Feel comfortable.
You look great. You look comfortable. You look relaxed. You look,
Thanks. So do you. Right back at you.
yeah, fake it till you make it. So, don't call me Karen. Kelley came up with that name, and I'm gonna cheer her, give her applause for that because that. So we were, and the way this podcast came about is just through Facebook, and both of us having ranting and raving and talking about today's the societal woes that we're all experiencing, and I'm like, I love your energy. I love Kelley's energy. You're just hard hitting.
Thank you.
All the time. So you're welcome. And I'm like, man, I wonder if she would do a podcast because, I have the End podcast, which is I'm interviewing people who are living life successfully, and then I'm about to launch the End paradigm shifting, which it's just me talking. And I wanted something where I could interact and talk about things that matter with someone who was smart.
And then you got me.
I got Kelley. So I'm just really excited about it. But we were trying to figure out, well, what are we going to call it? And like Kelley just says, well, I'm not really creative or anything, so I'll leave that up to you. But what about Don't Call Me Karen? And I'm like, that is a dope ass name. And everyone that I've floated that to loves it.
Oh, good. Me too.
Right.
Yeah.
It just
Getting a lot of
resonates.
positive feedback.
Yeah, it will get people's attention. So the point of this podcast, well, what are you hoping that people get out of this podcast that listen? What are you aiming for?
I think, well, you and I think we have good dialogue, and we come from different perspectives, but we tend to see the world sometimes the same, sometimes different. I mean, I'm a white girl, and you're a black man.
Are you?
So I think that we make a good team in addressing certain societal problems right now that are really worth talking about. I mean, as you know, I tried to be an ally. I've tried to work on issues related to equity in some form or another in my personal, but also my professional life, my whole life. So Something I care deeply about. And I think our country right now is at this crossroads. And if we don't speak up and if we don't talk about these issues and make them easier to talk about and have a dialogue, then we're not going to make any progress.
Correct. Yeah. So that's your aim. Okay. So my aim is, and I've been thinking about it, and I know I didn't even float any questions to you, so that, that was a great answer off the cuff. You're good. You're a pro at this point. You're a pro. So, I think what I want people to get out of this is that they begin to become curious and open-minded. As much as I would love for someone who listens to this who doesn't agree with anything that we're talking about to then turn around and be like, hey, I agree, because we presented arguments so articulately well, we're articulate and whatnot. What I really want is I just want people to have intellectual curiosity. I want them to be curious about other people, other perspectives, and to walk away from this notion of digging in. Like, I believe this, and so this is how it's got to be, and I don't care what anybody else thinks because I believe this one thing my whole life, and it doesn't sound right, it doesn't seem right, so I'm not going to listen to you. that I think that's the biggest issue our society has. Everyone is so entrenched in their perspective and what they believe. And what we're learning every day is that most of what we were taught historically, what we believe and how our perspectives on government and everything is wrong. It's not wrong. It is painted in a certain
Partial.
way. It's skewed, right? And so what I'm hoping is that people who listen to this show, if you're not on the same page that we're on, you'll become a little bit more open-minded. And so that those conversations that Kelley wants to have, the dialogues and whatnot, are a lot easier to have. If you are an ally and are on the same page as we are, that you learn the patience to be able to have conversations with people who aren't on the same page as you. And hopefully we can kind of find a way to meet in the middle. So that's my aim and hope for this show, for
Excellent.
what you get out,
That's
what people
excellent.
get out of the show. Yes. So
An awesome aim. And I would add also to mine.
no, it's too late. It's done.
Yeah,
No,
I'm gonna add. You know me. So as you know, I'm really vocal about these issues, and not everyone wants to be as vocal, but I think there is a big silent majority out there, and people don't always know how to approach conversations about race and about gender with other people, and they might want to speak up and be an ally, but they don't really know how to do it. And so I would hope that we could kind of encourage some of the
Right.
listeners in ways that they can actually go about and become an ally and actually be
Right.
vocal about it.
Be vocal, and let's be honest. We have to be a little bit tougher and be willing to take the lumps, because it's not always going to go perfectly, right? It's not, you're not going to have the conversation with someone and be able to have a kumbaya moment and walk away and whatnot. Sometimes it's going to be ugly. Names are going to be called. People are going to get angry, which is what deters people from having these conversations, because they don't want to mess anything up. They don't want to have any smoke. No, you got to want to have the smoke. You want to learn to want the smoke to come to you, because it's in those hard conversations that change happens. Even if it's a little bit, you're not going to change someone who, let's say somebody who lives in West Virginia and all their lives and they're just, completely to the right. One conversation is not going to bring them closer to center. It's going to take multiple conversations, but you got to be able to plant a seed that can hopefully grow to get them to be a little bit more open-minded. So that's that. So this first episode, we're going to explore the Don't Call Me Karen phenomenon, the Karen phenomenon, because you passed on an awesome article. And I think it's representative of this energy that is going on in this country, right? Where it's like amazing that, okay, we're finally having these discussions about trying to have more equality, right? We're looking at the disenfranchised portions of this population, and there's an effort to say, all right, let's try to get them to be even. In the effort of making them even, the people who are on top are like, wait a minute, that's not fair, because what about my help? What about this, that, and the other? And so the Karen article, the article that you suggested that we read, which is what, Huffington Post, or was it?
The Atlantic.
The Atlantic. And it was kind of dancing around the notion that the Karen moniker label is what? Racist, misogynistic. It falls under this ignorance, that actually the same kind of ignorance happens when someone refers to a black person as an N-word or uses any kind of slur to identify a group of its population, right?
Well, I think there's, a bunch of different perspectives on it. So most people would not want to be known as a Karen right now.
Right,
It's
as
a
you
big
should
thing.
not.
Most people
Right.
know what it is. You don't want to be a Karen. That's hence the name of our podcast.
Right.
But I think if you look at it, it speaks to kind of this weird place where white women are in the country today. I mean, we have privilege in being white, and yet a history of our own oppression. And so you see this kind of weird joining in the whole Karen hatred from, the very right-wing misogynist to the very left anti-racist. And so Karen, when you think of a Karen, it's this woman from a place of privilege, I guess, that's kind of complaining about things and making it more difficult for people of color or people of a different socioeconomic status. And, there's a long history of white women doing that. And it continues. I mean, it perpetuates from Amy Cooper, so
That was the
all
bird
of these
watcher lady, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And it makes me embarrassed on the one hand to be a white woman, but I'm also very proud to be a white woman and, how we fought for the right to vote, which we got. The 19th Amendment came like 50 years after the 15th Amendment. We still can't elect a white woman to be president. We might have a black woman to be vice president. Hopefully we do. But that will be before a white woman. So we have this weird balance of people kind of hating white women in this country from different sides of the spectrum. And
yeah. Old Hillary. Still mad at Hillary. I'm still mad at Hillary.
Yeah.
And we can talk about that later. I'm not a Hillary hater. I'm just mad at her. But so it is a very nuanced position that white women in particular are in. The thing that I got from the Karen article, right, is like the notion of it's kind of bad because you're calling them a name and you're applying a label to them and you're judging them because of, by calling them Karen, you're putting them in this bucket, right? But what kept coming to mind was that the thing with Karen is Karen put herself in the bucket, right? Like, if I'm walking down the street, I'm a black man, right? So there's a visual thing. You see me, and so you can decide what you think of me based on just my color if you're that kind of person, right? But no one looks at a white woman and immediately is like, oh, that's a Karen, unless she does something Karen-esque, so she kind of earns the
complain.
And it's the kind of complaining because to date I haven't seen anyone that I feel like has been called Karen who didn't.
Oh, I've been called Karen.
Well, you make people angry. Well, all right, first of all, who's calling you Karen?
The misogynist.
Right.
Because I'm not allowed to have an opinion as a woman.
No, you're not. So we're not going to talk about the misogynists, the angry people. Guys, you need to. Is your Facebook open? Is it public or do you have it private?
No, it's private.
Oh, man. Because what goes down in your comment section is just, it is so entertaining. It's sad that people are that way, but just knowing that you're tough and it doesn't take you down, it's very entertaining. And yes, misogynist, yes. So, but aside from the misogynist, I'm speaking more about like when we learned of the Karen of the week. To date, I haven't had a Karen presented and felt like, oh, that's not deserving.
My only issue with the whole thing, and I agree with you, would be there are so many privileged men who are Karens.
Yeah. So,
like they're not going to wear the mask. They're not going to do this. They're not going to do that. But it's the woman that we focus on, right?
Right now, yes, it is. It is. And I think the focus is happening right now because of Trump, right? Mm-hmm. And so we have this very complicated individual in the White House, right, who's had a very complicated history with everybody except Christian white males, right? And so you still have a population of women who support him. And so that brings the ire of a lot of people. It's just so when someone has a Karen moment, it's just icing on the cake. It's like, like you guys are supporting Trump, who's oppressing you, and then you're doing this, you're adding to it. So I think that's where this extra energy is coming from. But we can come up with a Karen for men. I mean, it's not like they don't set the rules, and if we decide that we want to call them something, we can. We just have to take it up. We just have to make it happen. So, So I'm not gonna be mad that there's not one for men because we just didn't come up with something yet. And I've seen Ken. I think Ken is a you say, oh, there's Karen and Ken, but we just
I prefer Brett.
Brett.
Yeah, as in Kavanaugh. Think about that a lot.
Yeah, Brett.
The Brett Bros.
And I've never really met a cool Brett. I don't think. No, I do know one. Okay, I do know one. Sorry, Brett, but he's black, so, so, but yeah, I mean, like we're at a point in time where it just takes all it takes is a social media, like a meme. You come up with a good meme and it just runs with it. But yeah, there is a lot of scrutiny that's not happening towards Karen-esque men, aka the Bretts. So, but whose fault is that?
Good question. Yeah, it is really an interesting place to be, like, as a white woman right now in this country, because I don't think that I am a Karen, and the Karens do deserve some hating on.
No.
I try not to be a Karen, but I come from this place of privilege. I try to be an ally, but then, you're getting hate as a white woman if you raise your voice sometimes, because it's considered complaining.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's this fine line of, am I complaining to the manager, or am I actually fighting for, equal rights and equity, and I should just shut up because I'm a woman? So
No,
there's a lot of that going on too, I think.
Well, okay, so I feel like you're scrutinizing yourself a little bit too hard. You're being too hard on yourself, right? So you have to think about who are the people that are calling you Karen, right? Are they people that you respect? No. Are these people that, like, you go to their Facebook page and see what they're posting saying, oh, this guy has it together? No. So you got to always consider the source.
Yeah.
You always have to consider the source. So if those people are calling you Karen, then fuck them, right? But if it's somebody who you respect and you really appreciate their opinion or perspective, and they're like, oh, Kelley, you're being a Karen. All right, well, then that's the moment that you're like, all right, well, let me think back and let me see what's going on. The whole Karen thing is they appear when it's ridiculous for them to appear. The woman at the park with the grill.
That was horrible. Yeah.
Right. Like, what was up with that? The girl who tried to get the guy at, I think it was Princeton. She was asleep. Whoever was sleeping or studying in the lounge, and she's like, "Where's your ID?" Blah blah. That's problematic.
Yeah.
Asking for the manager because something isn't going your way and it's really outrageous. Yeah, that's a Karen. Like, you have to remember that we live in a society now where a lot of people who are not intellectually elevated, I guess is the best way to put it. They're intellectually limited. They don't know how to apply these ideas. So, everybody's talking about Karen. You're a white woman. Easy. I'm just going to throw it at you because they don't have any creativity. They don't know how to understand nuance. So, no. I wouldn't worry about it until someone. Good. All right. Good.
You know what's interesting though? No, you just made me think of that. So Karens are these crazy rule enforcers, right?
Yes.
Supposedly.
Mm-hmm.
And, you're not following the rule. You're not doing this right. You're not doing that right. But then they're also the people that refuse to wear the mask. Right?
Correct.
And
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Astute
kind of a
observation.
contradiction.
It is. It's like, all right.
It doesn't apply to them when they don't want to follow the rules.
They pick and choose. They pick and choose what works, what should work, what shouldn't work. So, yeah, Karens will rat you out for barbecuing in the park in a place where you're not supposed to have coal, right? Even though no one cares, right? And other people do it. But, yeah, they won't wear a mask. They are pro-life. They do not want you to have choice. They are anti-choice, right? But they get mad when you don't stand for the national anthem. It's just it's just like, all right, you really just pick and choose. There's no consistent thread in their application of the law. Now, I wouldn't be mad at a Karen who was like consistently Karen all the way through. But no, they're not. They just pick and choose.
She'd just be a pain in the ass.
Yeah, she would be a pain in the ass, but I could respect that because I'm like, well, no, but you're consistent. Like you're a rule follower and you follow every damn rule. So good for you. I can't be mad at you because I know what I'm going to get from you. But yeah, you don't want to wear the mask. But yeah, you're mad at the guy. What? The
People
bird
just
watcher.
angry though. I
Yeah.
mean, did you see that one video about the woman in the park that was screaming? She was like a grandmother's age, screaming at this mom, this young mom that had this little toddler girl that was driving a Barbie car. And the grandmother's screaming that she doesn't have a driver's license. How can she be on this, like, it wasn't even a road that cars go on. It was this little trail.
Dang.
And I mean, it was ridiculous. Ridiculous.
Sometimes I wonder if these things are staged. Some of these things are
Yeah.
staged, but it's the anger and frustration. And I think what's culminating right now is, again, as we are like having to face the idea of racism and equality and trying to get everybody on the same page. There's people that they have a death grip on the the life they used to know. They see it slipping away, so they're unhinged, right? And they're just at the edge, and anything that sets them off, it just sets them off. And that's why we were seeing so many of the ridiculous things that we're seeing via social media. And that's why it's important that we need to have conversations. It's important that we have to kind of also have a fuck it attitude. Sometimes you just got to be like, you know what? I don't care. Like I'm gonna
You're
be
good
on
with
top of
that.
it.
You have a very laid back way about you. And I mean, I'm sure, have experienced so much more hatred in your life than I have. And, I get so fired up. And yeah, how do you do it?
I might be emotionally broken. I don't no. So a few, when you go through things, and I've suffered from depression. I've suffered from, I've gone through the whole therapy and being on meds. I've, of course, have experienced racism and things, being discriminated against and used and abused and all that stuff. And what I realize is that I'm still standing, right? And if when I go through things, if I ask myself 5 years from now, will I remember this? What's happening right now, will it matter? And 99.9% of the time, the answer is no. It's not going to matter. I'm not even going to remember that it happened unless I write it in a journal and then I go back and I'm like, oh yeah, that shit did happen. So
That's a good measure.
yeah, so now I'm at the point where I'm like, none of this stuff matters, and I'm always okay. Like, actually, when I go through things, I always end up better off than I did going into it. So, like, all right, whatever. And then considering the source, when I'm on Facebook and someone's coming at me, like the woman the other day that's called me a racist.
Yeah.
I'm like, really? Okay. All right, then. Like, you don't matter. Like,
I've been called a racist against whites repeatedly.
Yeah, well, you are.
For trying to be an ally.
Well, you are. That makes you. Well, all right. So let's be real. Like, racist should not be a pejorative. Like, this should not be a bad word, right? It's identifying a person, how they are, who they are, what they're trying to do, right? If you don't want to be a racist and someone calls you a racist, then that is your opportunity to change your ways and figure out what you can do in order to not be a racist, right?
No, but I mean, I've been called a racist against whites for speaking
Yeah,
as
that's
an
okay.
ally.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, you want to bring the whites down.
I don't, actually. I want to bring the people of color up, right?
Right. But
I'm looking for equity here.
But those people that called you racist, did you feel like they understood what racism is?
No.
There you go. And that woman that called me racist, like, she actually blocked me. And I wasn't even mean to her, but I kept asking her, I'm like, you don't know, you're not using the word correctly. Maybe you mean prejudiced, like, but this is not a racist situation.
I didn't see that post. I wish I saw that.
Yeah, it's in there. It's in the thread, and I can't even remember what the whole thing was about. But yeah, she called me a racist. She just, everything she was saying, she was like using big words but wrong, and I'm like, you're not using the correct word. This is the correct term. This is what I think you mean. And she just kept getting more angry and more angry. And then I thought it was funny because I'm like, you're getting educated here. And in the end, I did offer. I said, listen, if you ever want to have a conversation offline, I'm here. You can message me. We can talk about it because this is a judgment-free zone, and she
Yeah.
blocked me. She blocked me.
That's
So
very nice of you. You want to
listen,
spend your time educating people that should be educating themselves.
right? You know what? Lizzo talked about that, and it's in the book White Fragility. And I kind of disagree with the notion that people should be educating themselves. Kind of, sort of, right? Because, because, all right, yeah, I can send you to Google, right? You can go to Google and you can look up racism. You can look up all these things, right? First, you have to sort through all the different sources that may not be accurate, correct, or whatever, right? Then you don't have context. There's little to no context. So if I'm having a conversation with somebody about racism, hopefully I can provide them more context to an idea so they have a better chance of understanding it.
Well, that speaks, though, more to the problem of our society, I think, that they don't know how to do research. They don't know how to discern credible sources. I mean, there's so
Right.
much information out there for someone that really wants to educate themselves about race.
Yeah, but it's hard to get context. I mean, you can be super intelligent and still if you don't have someone that's providing adequate context, it makes it like, okay, blackface. Like, a lot of people know it's wrong, but they don't know why it's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't know why it's wrong, then even though you might be abiding by the whole, like, I'm not going to wear blackface, I'm not going to do it, like, you not doing it because you know it's wrong is not an authentic feeling.
Mm-hmm.
But if you knew the story behind it,
Right.
okay, then it makes it easier for you to be like, no, blackface is wrong. And then going further, if you understand why in 2020 blackface would be offensive because society is different, then you'd be like, oh, okay. Should we delve into that?
Yeah.
Blackface? Okay,
Sure.
Why not?
Yeah.
As we get close to closing this out. So for those of you who know blackface, you're going to just have to be patient and just rock out with this. But so back in the day when black people couldn't walk in certain doors and couldn't go into certain buildings and we basically couldn't live the same lives as white people. We were enjoyed. So our acting, our singing, our performance, white people enjoyed it. But they still hated us. So what would happen is white actors, of course, would to play roles of black people in productions. Yep. They would wear blackface, right, to be black, so you wouldn't have to have an black actor, right? But oftentimes they would make black people wear blackface. So you're a black person, yeah. So you're a black person, and you're still meant to wear you still have to put the makeup on and put the lips on and all that, right?
To be a certain shade.
Just like to look dark. So then I guess the idea is like, well, you can't distinguish between a white person doing blackface or a black person doing blackface but you can, yeah, right. So that was the birth of it, right? So you have jobs that black people could have as actors being taken by white people because of blackface. So that's the first stage of it. And then there's also like the offshoots of white people doing crimes in blackface, and then black people getting, white people getting away with it, and black people getting accused of things. So you have that. So there's this idea of, what is it, cultural appropriation or whatever. Mm-hmm. They blame Justin Timberlake and people like, you're trying to steal the culture, right? Right. So that's in 2020. That's the fear. Like, if you were to go and put on blackface, you're trying to steal our culture.
Well, I had a similar, not with blackface, but I was schooled recently by my daughter and her friends they had a friend at school that, my daughter, she's very close with a couple of her friends are black, and there was another girl that was white at school and was trying to get closer, I think, to one of the black girls, and she went to the salon and she got her hair done in cornrows, and she thought, I think, that she was trying to emulate the girl that she wanted to be better friends with, and I was asking, my daughter and her friends, well, is that a form of flattery? I mean, isn't she's trying to be like
Right.
you? I mean, it's like, she admires the way that, you do your hair. And no, I was very wrong. So I recently got educated myself, and here I am trying to be an anti-racist.
Well, but that's the process. There's never, like, until you take your last breath, you're always going to be learning. And so, and I'm going to speak for me personally, right? Like, in that situation, I feel like the little girl getting the cornrows, yeah, she's trying to assimilate. She, like, what she was doing was genuine and it was coming from a pure place. But people are triggered, right? And me personally, I wouldn't be triggered by that. Like, I'm not bothered by Justin Timberlake. I'm not even bothered by people who do blackface. Like me, but that's me personally because of just how I'm built in the way that I think. But if somebody's triggered by it, you kind of have to respect their feelings, because maybe they have to grow to get to the point where then they're not triggered by that. Because for me, it's all about intent, right? If the intention is to, like, hey, I see what you're doing and I really like it and I want to be just like that.
Right.
To me, that's fine. That's flattery. That's different than, like, oh, I'm going to mock you and I'm being, that's a totally different thing.
Right.
But yeah, people are triggered. Different people are triggered by different things. So Halloween is coming. So I'm going to look at the camera.
Is it coming this
White
year?
people, I mean, I think we're going to have some sort of Halloween like now where you got to wear a mask, right? Everybody, you get your costume.
Exactly.
Right?
We already have it.
Right. So white people. Somebody out there is going to really decide to do the blackface thing. You're going to try to be... You're going to try... Yeah, don't do it. I feel like being Black Panther is fine, right? I saw people got flack last year or the year before for being Black Panther, white kids. Or white kids
Doing
wanted to be
Black
Panther. Well, no, they wanted to be Black Panther. They just wanted to wear the costume.
Right.
And for some reason, that was like, well, no... Timmy can't be that because Timmy is white. And it's like, well, no, that's really reaching it. Besides, it's a whole costume. It's not like he's putting on makeup. He's wearing the mask. But please do not try to darken your skin. If you want to be a black person, just be a white black person. Like, black people don't want to try to be white.
We learned our lesson at this point. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of Kamala Harris wrong costumes.
Yeah, I think but every year, but again, that goes back to people not understanding they don't know the history. So if you know the history, then it's like, okay, well, I'm not going to mess with that.
Right.
So.
Well, thanks for educating us on that.
That was a very light version of education. And here, if anything that is said that you don't agree with, people, you can get a hold of us, right? You can reach out. We can converse as long as it's nice, respectful. You don't want to not be respectful because you're going to catch the smoke. I don't have any problem smoking somebody out. so
neither do I.
Right? No, she definitely in fact, no, she'll get you. So don't do it. No, but it's important to have one to be willing to learn and one to be corrected. Now I do have I think I'm one class shy of a African American Cultural Studies history major at University of Delaware. So
awesome.
Pretty up on history based on how it was taught in the 90s. So, I mean, with the internet, now we have so much more information coming out. But, so I do have a solid base of foundation for education. But if I'm wrong about something, I want to be told so that I can learn.
Same.
Yeah, so I think we're about to wrap it up. This is a good first episode. How do you feel?
I feel good.
Did you get everything off your chest that you wanted to get off your chest?
No, that would take many, many, many years. For the first episode.
Yeah.
I think it was a good one.
It was a great one. So, all right. Well, we're going to sign off. Until the next time, we'll be back. We are still setting up things, our social media and whatnot. But if you look on the iPod, on the where this is linked, the iPad on iTunes for the podcast and the YouTube. Because if you're listening, we do have video. If you're on the video, we do have audio. So you can pick and choose. The information on social media will be on there. And then in future episodes, we'll be able to shout it out. And we won't be so ghetto.
Thank
How's
you
that
for all
sound?
your high-tech skills that you bring to this, since I have
I'm gonna
none.
clap it up. No, but you bring. First of all, you provided this beautiful, like this is
It is a perfect day.
people. The skies are blue. It's white puffy clouds out. There's a nice breeze. I can hear the cicadas in the mic. Like we only had one lanternfly sighting. Is great out here. So I really do appreciate you extending your home, inviting me to your home, especially during these COVID times, and the love and the warmth. Like I might not leave, might have to just
All right.
move in so I can cut the grass or something.
Oh,
I
that
can
would be
I
nice.
can be a contributing member of the household. So, but until the next time, I'm Brandon, aka DJ Silk, and
I'm Kelley.
yes, and this is the Do Not Call Me Karen podcast, and we will see you the next time. Clap it out.
Bye.
Bye bye.